right now, all I want you to do is exist. I'm simply asking you to exist. I'm not telling you to change, because everything is fine just how it is. I know. It may not seem that way at first glance. But where you are, with me here now, is exactly where you're supposed to be. You were meant to be here in this moment. And everything in the day thus far has gone precisely how it should have. And it may not have turned out as pleasant as you and I might have hoped, but that's fine. You see, I try to live by the law of acceptance. Accept everything at face value. Don't make something else that it's not, or wasn't meant to be. It is what it is. You see, we have this tendency to want to constantly change things, edit them, or reimagine them, recreate them. Constantly, this nagging feeling of, it's not perfect yet, you know? But what is perfect? When will something ever be perfect? You see, I don't believe in perfection, no. All it does is give you a headache. And people strive, they drive themselves crazy trying to be perfect. And I'll tell you, I thrive in imperfection. I see imperfection as beauty. And I'm not trying to downplay your situation, no. I know, it can be rough. It could be absolutely heart-wrenching. But try to see every negative situation as an opportunity to grow. Because after all, we can't appreciate the positive without the negative. It's like the whole yin-yang thing. We have to have the good to appreciate the bad, and vice versa. So, this may sound hypocritical, or even impossible, but see, even this ASMR video is not perfect. My roommate's making some noise, but you know what? I'm gonna keep going. As I was saying, striving for perfection will leave you feeling miserable in the end. Because even when everything's finally perfect, how will you know that you finally got there? It's like when you get to heaven, you wish you were in hell. dancing. But what is there? What is your destination? I want to tell you to drop it. Forget about the end result and appreciate the journey. Because when you finally reach the end of your trail, path, you achieve your goals. There's an old saying, I think it was out of a Chinese fortune cookie or something, but it says, when all of your wishes have been granted, many of your dreams will be destroyed. When all of your wishes have been granted, many of your dreams will be destroyed. What does that mean to you? Because it means the world to me. Let's break it down. We spend our whole lives wishing, wanting, trying, hoping, dreaming. And that is the journey. That is the everyday struggle. It's what gets you up every morning. But that is also the happiness. Because if all of my wishes were granted, I wouldn't have any dreams left. What would I want to try for if it's already been done? See, when you accomplish one thing, yeah, it's great. You made it. But I'm telling you, never feel finished. Never settle. You're not done. Don't ever be done. Keep dreaming. And try to imagine it like this. The suicide rate for astronauts is pretty high. Like an astronaut will travel to the moon. And that's all he or she's ever wanted, was to land on the moon. But when they come back here to Earth, a lot of them fall into depression because they struggle to find a goal larger than landing on the moon. So they shot so high, they actually reached the stars. And then they came back to Earth. And what's higher than the stars? Mars? You have to always occupy yourself with an obsession that will energize you and make you happy. Try to always be working on something that makes you feel worthwhile. I feel like the pursuit of happiness is wrong, because happiness is in the pursuit. I mean, I could try to go my whole life trying to be happy. And who will ever tell me when to finally quit and be happy? No one's ever going to tell me that I made it. And you can come up with your own definition of happiness. But for me, that's constantly changing. I'm happy about something in one moment of time. And then that same thing won't make me happy anymore. So I'll find something else that'll recreate my happiness. So there was once a prince, and the prince had everything he wanted. He lived in a castle. He had all of the riches and food and a roof over his head. But the prince was unhappy. And he was angry at himself for not being happy. said, I have anything I want, everything I want. I must be a real piece of shit for feeling like this. So the prince escaped his castle, so to speak. And he went out and he said, I will lose everything now because it was my things. It was my material possessions that made me suffer. So he went on the streets and he starved. And he masqueraded as a peasant. And he struggled and he put himself through pain of simply trying to exist. And he lived the exact opposite of his former life. But he still couldn't find happiness. And that's when he reached a conclusion. And he said, life is pain and pleasure. Because I've seen it all. I've been happy with everything, and I've been sad with everything. And I've been happy with nothing, yet sad with nothing. Alright, so I probably paraphrased everything there, but that is the story of Buddha. The poor man's story, because I probably did a really bad job, but the concept is sound. You can find people that on the outside can have a care in the world. And you can find somebody that's got real problems. Has a hard time getting up every morning because he asks himself, why? What's the point? But it's not right to compare the struggles of the well-off person to the struggles of the poor person, because pain affects us all evenly. Somebody could be heartbroken in a mansion, in a BMW, or Porsche or Lambo, just as much as they could be heartbroken in a cardboard box. What matters is what's on the inside. What happiness means to them. Because you can redefine happiness at any given moment. Happiness means to me being alive and existing and looking for just plain old positivity in the simple things. I mean, I do find that it is so much easier to just slow down and take care of yourself. I feel that if I get too caught up in my goals, see, it's tricky. Goals make me happy. Working towards my career, and my dreams and whatnot, yeah, that makes me feel whole. That gives me a purpose. But it doesn't make me happy. The smallest little things will make me truly happy. A meme on the internet will fill me with joy when it's worth absolutely nothing. It's like 80 kilobytes. A JPEG image will stick with me for the rest of my life, and I will just have to think back on it and just laugh for free. You can't put a price on that, And let's talk about how money does not buy happiness. No. We all know rich people whose lives are in shambles, personally, not financially. But those two aren't really, there's no direct link in between money and happiness. But what I'm saying is there is an exact correlation of comfort to money. And I know what you're thinking. Well, I'd be a lot happier if I had a lot more money. And you would. But you would be mistaking that happiness for comfort. Because I don't care if you live in an apartment or a mansion, it'll still house the same loneliness, the same feelings that you haven't sorted out yet. They travel with you. And at the same time, my goals and my career and everything I work for, it might make me happy, but at the same time, it's if I get too wound up in it, it ends up doing exactly the opposite. So it's a tricky thing. It really is a balancing act of sorts, because we have to balance what makes us happy and what makes us inspired. There is such thing as overexerting yourself and being exhausted and simply taking on too much, because stress is real. Stress is a form of, well, sadness. One way to handle that is to always take a moment for yourself. You are the most important person. And I know that sounds selfish, but so many people spend their whole lives trying to help other people when they're the last person on their own plate. Well, I should say mind. People forget themselves. They forget that they're human too. They spend all this time taking care of people, trying to make other people happy. You know, it's hard to be a strong person sometimes because people don't check up on you. They just assume you're strong. But who's there to ask the strong people that they're tired of being strong? Because the thing is, you can't help other people until you help yourself. So it comes down to solving your own problems on a personal level before you take on the gift of helping others. You should serve as an example. Your life should be a shining light in this crazy, sometimes fucked up world. I'm not going to call it dark. Dark's, I just don't like that word. There's always light here. You don't even have to look that far. I feel like the ASMR community is filled with light. Especially on a place like YouTube. But you just have to be the change you wish to see in the world. I'm sure you're seeing that on your mom's wall. But when it comes down to it, it's all about just trying to make life simple. Trying to decomplicate things, simplify things. Life's hard enough as it is. There's no use to be hard on yourself, because I know how it goes. It's so easy to just get caught up in your own game and overwhelmed with your own thoughts, positive and negative. You know. And I wish I could tell you a straight answer to try to make yourself happy all the time, but there is none. Happiness is a very complex, well, that's what it is actually. It's a complex, because sometimes it'll change. Things that made me happy even a couple months ago or years ago won't have the same effect. And something that mattered not then means the world today. So it's constantly changing, evolving, growing. And that's what keeps life interesting. You know, I try to see life as a journey. But what did Tyrion say in Game of Thrones? He said, death is so certain, whereas life is filled with possibility. I love that quote because every day you wake up and you think, infinite possibilities. There really is, in every moment. So try to take life in stride, moment for moment. And try to find the good in every moment. You crashed your car, good. Well, assuming you have insurance, that means you can get yourself a new one. That's one problem I'd like to have currently. I could use a new car. But that's the thing is, some terrible stuff could actually turn out to be probably the best thing that's ever happened to you. But how would you know until it's over with? You could break your leg and then fall in love with the nurse. I'm sure it's happened many times. And even simple things. Like, I've dreaded wanting to do something like take a class, or I felt anxious about, it seems like there's anything that I've ever wanted to do in life that I felt reluctant to do has been almost like a turning point. Because the thing that I feared most, that I forced myself to do, ended up paying off, ended up being good. And that just comes down to the comfort zone. It says everything you want and everything you need is just outside your comfort zone. Maybe that's what you need. Ask yourself, what am I resisting right now? What's causing me heartache, anxiety, or why am I so upset? Because that might just be, and I'm not saying it itself, but it could change the hands of fate, or send a plot twist into your life that will direct you on a whole new path that you never knew was there. It's happened to me so many times. My life seems like a series of unexplained happy events, It's like a series of fortunate events and unfortunate, but time after time, those unfortunate events were actually fortunate events. I said, wow, that sucked, but I'm glad it happened. Because maybe I just learned something. So, when it comes down to it, sounds like a dog. I sat down here tonight, and all day, all afternoon, I thought, I'm going to make an ASMR video, and it's going to be, I don't know, good, bad, probably not very organized. And I was worrying about so much. I was thinking, man, the timing's not right. I don't have any of my soundproofing ordered yet. There's cars driving by in the afternoon. It'll probably be occupied tonight. I won't have any time this evening when it finally quiets down. But I said, well, it's probably more important that I get it done. Because if it's 90% of the way there, at least it's 90% of the way done. Besides 0% of the way done. I found myself waiting for it to be perfect. And I said, well, I was kind of going over the topics in my head about things I wanted to talk about. And I said, I should just make it spontaneous. Just get on and chat. Sorry, I had the hiccups. And I really do hope that people enjoy it. And at the same time, I think anybody on YouTube will be happier to see that I'd made something besides not made anything at all. So, because if I had tried to make it perfect, if I had sat down and fretted and stressed about the small things and said, oh, I could do it next week when my soundproofing gets here, or I can try to order a new camera. I have all these changes, and I'm trying to constantly like rebuild them and like reimagine how things should be, and wait for cars to stop driving by and all that jazz. But in the end, I feel like I was just being too critical of myself, in my own creativity, and that was hindering me. So I thought, why don't I just sit down and chat and tap on this little drumstick looking piece of wood. This is actually, you actually use these for those little Tibetan bowls. You just, then I'll have to make an ASMR like about those as well. That'd be fun. But in the end, it is what it is. I guess that's kind of the whole catch-phrase of what's really my only point, is accepting things for what they are. I'm not trying to change them. Not trying to force them to be perfect. Because I'll be damned if it is. I don't think I have yet to see the perfect ASMR video. Except for Power of Sound. His sound quality is just absolute perfection. But, I don't think I could ever be that good. Who knows? Maybe. But, yeah. So keep enjoying your imperfections. And stop trying to be perfect. Because I'm here to be in your face and say, you're not perfect. And that's what's great. That makes it so much easier to, hey, I can go. I can allow myself to do things and not have to wait until everything's perfect, everything's in place, because there's not any other time other than right now to act. It's like that Red Hot Chili Pepper song. Never been a better time than right now.